Everyone, thank you so much for joining us here today. Today, we're going to talk about something that I had a real issue when I started hypnosis. I had studied for a year, two, maybe 3 years, and I had all these skills, and I didn't know what the hell to do with them. And luckily, David was one of the people. There were others, but David was one of them who really was able to organize and come up with a how-to that kind of started our conversations and what led to a friendship. But today we're here. We're going to show you how to run through a hypnosis session. We're also going to talk about certain things such as, a hypnosis session. It's very different from what you would do as a demonstration, or if street hypnosis is your area of expertise. So I think this is going to contain a lot of information and be very valuable. And again, I thank you for joining us. And here is David Barron.
Right. Thank you very much, Joe. Yeah, I'll try and be as concise and brief as possible, and I want you to be able to answer any questions. Please feel free to post questions in the chat. If you want to ask online, that's great. Go down to the chat comments and raise your hand, and I'll know that you're wanting to ask a question live. So, those of you who've done hypnosis or are studying it, I want you to sort of go back to your first exposure to it. And I will at least share with you what my initial understanding, experience of it was, which is, as much as I wanted to do it, it was overwhelming. There were so many little steps and things you had to do. And while I did it, it was a lot like hit or miss. And so what I want to do today is present something to you, at least as a format, or at least as a concept that you can use that would make this a little bit easier for you. So I learned this particular format, or my version of this format, from my mentor, who was Jeffrey Stevens. And he, in the course of 3 days, he would teach a very direct and a very effective one-session program. And he taught it there as 10 parts, and he would go through each part one at a time, in sequence, pretty much. What I realized is, first of all, the reason he broke it to 10 steps is because it became incredibly easy to teach. But it's also very easy to learn when you look at it in those steps. For those of you who have my operations manual, if you go to the operations manual, which is sort of how I run my practice, it talks about the steps of each of the sessions that I do. And if you don't have access to that, send an email to me. I'll make sure you get it. It's a free download. Once you have it, it's no longer mine. When it's in your hands, it's yours. I want you to use it and make it your own. And don't think of it as a Bible. Think of it as a model from which you can build something. So I certainly want you to do something better if you have it than what I'm doing. So improve the service of hypnosis with what you've got there. But he taught it in very simple steps, and it's going to vary from person to person. And what I'd want everyone to do mostly is develop your own process. I can give you some very simple steps to start it, and this would be actually helping somebody who's giving you money. So the very first step, what you want to do is, once you have them in the chair, you do some version of a pre-talk. There are very long pre-talks, which are sort of nice. My mentor, Jeff Stevens, his pre-talk was essentially, what do you want? And then he'd do the hypnosis on them. His justification for that simple of a pre-talk was, they know I'm a hypnotist. They gave me money. They know that I'm going to hypnotize them. All I need to know is what they need to do. And he would work from that and be very effective at it. However, there are plenty of people who want to describe hypnosis, who want to get the misconceptions, who want to create a sense of anticipation, and a pre-talk is going to do that. So if you want to find out about a pre-talk, there are plenty of people who are on YouTube that'll sort of describe a pre-talk to you. So you start with that. Once the pre-talk is done, you do the induction, and you do the induction by saying these words. Are you ready? And you get a head nod, which is yes. And then you do the induction. The induction is going to vary. There are plenty of people who want to do inductions that are a progressive relaxation. And I just encourage you, go for the rapid induction. Just be bold. It has an incredibly dramatic response to the person who's doing it. They are paying you. They know they have to follow your instructions. So learn 2, 3, or 4 different inductions and find one that is your favorite. Once you have them, and again, the induction, I like Mark Cunningham's description of induction. An induction is a ritual that's done for the benefit of the client. And the benefit is to keep their attention that's right now, at this point, focused outside on their hypnotist, and start taking their attention and bring it inside to the innermost part of their mind. Once you have that focus turned internally, you do the deepener. And the deepener, the purpose of the deepener is to make the internally focused state found. And that can mean make it more pleasant. It can mean making it one moment, please. There we go. It can mean making the experience more profound. It can mean making them turn deeper inside, feel even better, and making the experience more enjoyable. So that's the purpose of the deepener. Once you have that, you have plenty of options to do it. For a lot of people, my mentor, Jeff Stevens, once they're in that deeper state, you solve the problem. And there are plenty of processes to do that. In fact, if you want to go to the YouTube discussion and you'll find ways that we have helped people solve their problems, which would be the terms of addressing the main issue. Once, for me, what I'm doing in my hypnosis sessions as I'm helping somebody is I'm creating an emotional feeling that motivates the change. So if they want to exercise, you could have them think about exercise, but I want them to feel excitement and anticipation. So we create the anticipation and the excitement to exercise, and the feeling motivates that change. Once you have that, it's always good to future pace it. That simply means have them practice this tomorrow in their mind, feeling this anticipation, in this case, to exercise, and going through the day. Then imagine the next day, seeing what they would see and hear what they would hear and feel this anticipation. And then the next day after that. And then this is called future pacing, just having them repeat it again and again in their future so it becomes familiar. At that point, for what I do, I do what's called the magic mirror. The magic mirror is basically a process that's called ego strengthening. This is the gift I want to give every one of my clients. It is actually having them feel incredibly good about themselves. I always put this just before the awakening or the exduction. And again, if you want to hear the magic mirror, it's in the manual. And again, I want them to feel a sense of well-being, feeling good, and positive and feeling joyful about themselves. And the last is, and then the wake up. And you can do a whole bunch of different types of wake ups. The very simplest is I'm going to count from 1 to 5, and at the count of 5, your eyes will open, wide awake and fresh. And then you count them up to 5, you have them awaken. That's not the end of the session. That's the end of the hypnosis. But the session then is about making all the internal things you've created conscious to them. If you've done this really well, they're going to have a really interesting and weird experience. It's going to be like if you're dealing with a smoker, I ask them to try to want a cigarette. And what you'll find is if they're trying to want a cigarette and they've gone through this process, they cannot do it. And it feels good, but it also feels weird. And it feels weird because the change has been so dramatic. And it's unfamiliar to them. That's why I say it's unfamiliar or it's weird because this is unfamiliar. And now you have a responsibility to get familiar with this change. And I give them homework. The homework's very simple. Celebrate your victories. Every time you notice this feeling and you feel good for no reason at all, pat yourself on the back, tell your subconscious mind, attaboy, good job, and celebrate that victory like you're coaching a 10-year-old. Just really feel this sense of gratitude. Doing that, bringing your attention back with gratitude to this change makes it become more and more familiar and ingrains it consciously. A couple of things that I like to add, which is I always like to remind them how proud I am of them for following their instructions. I remind them they did a great job. And for some people, I do this wonderful thing where if they're feeling really, really good, I have them close their eyes, focus on the feeling, put their hands on their chest, and in their mind, with their eyes closed, feeling this feeling, I say, as you press on your heart and you feel this feeling, say the words, I deserve this. I deserve this. I deserve this. I deserve this. This reinforces everything. It reinforces the positive feelings. It reinforces all the good feelings they built within the magic mirror, and it reinforces a sense of deserving. And I have found, much to my surprise, there are plenty of people here that I work with who have never even considered themselves worthy of a good feeling. And once they have that experience, it just it's like puts epoxy over everything. They have the feeling, they like it, they feel this sense of deserving, and it feels really, really good. Now that's my format for doing a clinical hypnosis session. What I would recommend you do is you have 2 ways of doing this. With a paper and pencil, go over and review every one of the steps, and then find all the content to fill the steps out. If you want to make a script that you read, that works. If you want to modify it, test it out. The important thing is you have a system to follow. Systems make it easier, and easier is why we become hypnotists. I'm a hypnotist, not a counselor, because I can tell people what to do and they'll do it. Counselors, they have to wait and ask, how do you feel about that? And I'd rather not be that. I'm very lazy, so I want people to just do what I tell them. Okay, Alex. Okay, I got your message. Now that is sort of the review of how I would want you to do a clinical. It's not how I want you to do. It's a format that is useful. Does anyone have any questions about the format of doing a hypnosis process. I want to know if just a show of hands or a nodding of heads, if it was understandable and useful. Okay, got some thumbs up. Okay, got a Keenan, you can unmute yourself. You have a question.
So you said it was like a 10-part sequential program, and just thinking like maybe I missed a few or filed a bunch of parts under the
Mm-hmm.
same section. So just
Yeah.
for my own clarity, is there like a name for each part?
Do you have the manual?
No,
Okay. Send me an email. I'll make sure you have access to my manual.
thanks.
Let me give you an idea of what the names of them are. And again, I may have 3 sessions, uh, and each of those are slightly different. But the sections the names I have are the voice of experience. That's the introduction to the induction. Then I do the induction. I do what's called a simple deepener. And a simple deepener is just saying, go deeper, deeper, deeper. The deeper you go, the better you feel. And the better you feel, the deeper you go. So it's very simple.
Mail David, and he will provide you with a copy.
We got it. Yeah. Uh, After the simple deepener, the boilerplate is just a boilerplate is a legal term. It's something that goes in every legal form, and that's why it's called a boilerplate. The boilerplate is simply about how to respond to the environment around you, how to respond to your internal experiences, and how to anticipate and respond to every instruction that's given. So it's just a standard process that you instruct everybody. I go through a process then that is the symbology process, and that's again in the manual. I then go through what's called a complex deepener. It's called a complex deepener just because it requires a lot more setup. Uh, the next step is called the golden box, and that is where I just talk to the subconscious mind and tell it what it's been doing, what it needs to do differently, and how to do it. I do then the ego strengthening, which is the magic mirror. I do the wake up. That's the exduction part. And following that, I test for results and do all the things when their eyes are open. So that's what I have. Jeff Stevens has his 10 steps. I've modified them slightly. Does that answer your question, Keenan?
Yeah, that fills in a few of them. Thank you.
Good enough. Good enough. Yeah, Joe, you had a question about a couple spoke.
Yes. Well, I have a few. Um, I guess it starts with the deepener. Now, there are a lot of hypnotists out there that will say depth of trance doesn't exist, but anyone who's done hypnosis knows that for certain, phenomena to appear, they have to be in somnambulism. So, as far as creating anesthesia or analgesia, what are your thoughts on depth of trance?
I view, uh, in some ways, I agree, yes, and then I disagree that they're either in hypnosis or not in hypnosis. Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
But there are qualities of being in hypnosis that feel so much better than other qualities of being in hypnosis. And so I want them way on that far end of feeling better. That is what I call depth. So for me, depth of trance is basically to get more and more internally focused on really positive feelings and have less and less, in fact, no awareness, ideally, of the outside environment. There are moments with some people when you're working with them and they are so deeply within their mind following the instructions that you can tell that there's responding to anything in the environment around them. They're so completely focused. And these are the ones who open their eyes and go, whoa, wow, that was wild when it's done. So you can get results anywhere along that spectrum of depth, but just for the benefit of this human being, I want them to have an incredibly awesome experience. I want them as far in under the deep as possible and make it as pleasant, as enjoyable as we can. One way of doing that, once you have them understanding this state of hypnosis and the state of depth, is the simple phrase, the deeper you go, the better you feel. The better you feel, the deeper you go. What that does, that creates a feedback loop. So if I go deeper, I feel better. And if I feel better, I can go deeper and deeper. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, and the way I've always looked at it, because my goal as a hypnotist, why not take them as deep as you can get them? It's going to cost us what? 30 seconds to a minute. So, it's better to do it
Yeah.
ahead of time, I feel, than to wish you had. Uh, the other thing, let me know if this is getting too far ahead, but you mentioned the exduction. And this is something I didn't pay all that much attention to until it kind of bit me in the ass. Uh, Everyone here is over 18. Good. So when I learned this type of stuff, you can hypnotically induce orgasms. And yes, you can. So I tried that years ago, and it worked great. That's not part of the story. The thing is, I took the level of hypnosis as deep as I could get, and when I brought her out, it was fast. And for about 5 minutes, she walked around the room looking like a stroke victim. And we had dinner reservations. And the only thing I could think to do was drop her back into trance and then do a proper induction. And even then, she was a bit loopy, but at least it got her in the car and we were off to the
Yeah.
restaurant. So, your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Uh, Clinically, it's not much you have to work at. That, and again, I learned this from Jeff Stevens, which is if you're doing like an exduction or the awakening part of 1 to 5, you want to keep once five, you say 5 and their eyes are open, 3, 4, 5, eyes open, then you just keep saying the words, feeling great, wide awake, all the way back. Maybe you want to, clap your hands like that in front of them, but get them as far away from the internal state of hypnosis as you can. So wide awake, feeling great, and nod your head, feeling amazing, feel good. Yes, feels great, doesn't it? So that's one of the best ways to get them back into a conscious waking state. I have
Well,
a different. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, and Stevens covers this, which you do it as well in your own way. And I never realized how important it is. But, part of it is, take a deep breath, nose clear, sinuses clear, mind clear. It makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and until they're all the way back, they're not out of hypnosis. And all the way back is feeling great, looking around the room, interacting with the environment, not just trying to crawl back in their own head again. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, clinically, one of my exductions is one I just created on my own, which is uh, once we have a good result, I tell them to notice that their eyes are closed, and they still do not open as hard as they would try. And I have them test it and nod their head that they're locked together. And I tell them that their eyes are going to remain closed until they know in their heart and soul that this change is permanent and forever. So don't try to open your eyes. That's not going to work. Instead, go now to the very depth of your mind, make this true, and then your eyes will open. Open your eyes now only as quickly as you know this change is permanent and forever. Take all the time you need. And most of the time they can do it in 20, 30 seconds. I've had people really wrestle with their eyes trying to open. I just keep reminding them, you're trying to open your eyes. Don't try to open your eyes. Just go deep and make it permanent. And this acts as a convincer that it's not necessary. It's just something I've learned. It works as good as any other adduction, but I want to make them feel as though they had something dramatic take place.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Evan has a question. How do you build, I do know auto spell check, probably got this one. I assume it's hypnotic rapport during the or do you build hypnotic rapport during the pre-talk? Uh, the answer is
Okay.
yes. I'll just let you take that.
Uh, consider the context of a hypnosis session. Someone is sitting with you, a hypnotist, and giving you money so that they can be hypnotized and make a change. You already have authority. Authority always trumps rapport. Now, it's always nice to be kind and concerned and caring about rapport. But if they're in the context already knowing they're going to be hypnotized and you're the hypnotist, that rapport is pretty much there already. So I hope that answers your question.
I think that's a great comment, and I think that follows along the line. I've already made this at least PG-13, so no need to stop here. But quoting Richard Bandler, Bandler has at times said, "Fuck rapport, hit him with a lightning bolt. You've already
Yeah.
got him there." And then Alex has a comment. I'll read it to you. As an occultist, and just like a ritual, the exfil from trance can and immediate aftercare are just as vital as the wrap part of the rite when you thank the guardians of the watchtowers and put out the candles.
Yes. Yeah.
Alex,
Uh,
thank you. I know you always add something to the conversation and you have not let us down.
that was a
Hmm,
beautiful metaphor, and your
thank you.
responsibility to I thank you, Alex. That was a beautiful metaphor. Your responsibility to the client doesn't end until they leave the room and you don't see them. And it is always present in every interaction, whether it's a text message, whether it's an email, whether it's a conversation. So yeah, that's beautiful. I really like that. Thank you. Any other questions? There was a couple of things else I wanted to mention, which is all we've done here is talked about the hypnosis process in the context of a clinical session, but there are other contexts. Another context of hypnosis would be to do it in it as a quick demonstration or as a street hypnosis. The context makes all the difference. And with a demonstration or a street hypnosis, you can dramatically cut down what you're doing in terms of the steps. Um, and again, this is something you have to practice. It's frightening and concerning if you've never done street hypnosis before. So what I always recommend is get used to it. Go out and start doing it and hypnotizing people um, who say that I bet you can't hypnotize me. Give it a try. You have nothing to lose. They're already not hypnotized. They're the only thing you do is make them feel better. And there the format is very simple. You tell them to follow their instructions. You can do a very brief pre-talk, a really good street hypnosis pre-talk. It was very simple. It said, all you have to do is follow the instructions. When I say sleep, you will not enter into ordinary sleep, but a deep sleep-like process where you hear my words and you follow my instructions. And that's very brief. And he would do a rapid induction, like for example, press on my hand and you have the press on the hand thing and then sleep. And do a very rapid induction, deeper and deeper, 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 deeper. He would do a couple of phenomena like paralysis or catalepsy. And then he'd give them something in return, like a feeling of confidence, or when they open their eyes, it's going to be so bright, it's as if you've begun to see for the very first time. He'll give them something that makes their experience really good. That's dramatically shortened. So we're looking maybe 4 steps at the most. The only way to get good at this is by practicing it. First, decide how you're going to do it, write it out for yourself, make a format, practice it in your mind, and then fearlessly go out and do it. And again, always make people feel better than when you left them.
David, thank you so much. This is great. And I look at like what we've talked about, it's more or less, a roadmap. But, in our private conversations, we've talked about, the mastery. And, I'll just bring up jazz. You'd have the good hypnotist like Kenny G that can play the notes and the scales. And then, you get someone like Stan Getz who just, he has the map over there, but he can go in and out of this very smoothly. Your opinions about, because we've all read scripts in our career,
Mm-hmm.
and there are times where we do, but I've seen you work, and you have a lot of freedom in what you do.
Yeah. Skill and mastery, if you think about the result you want and the time you have to get that result, your skill is what's going to get you there. Your mastery is how short that time is going to be. So as you practice this, you get really good about it. Your job is to become a master of this so you can get that result in the shortest amount of time. And all you do is keep practicing.
I'll bring up, in the salon, we would say, "Hey, what is time?" And the thing is, everyone says money, and you go, "No, it's fun. You get to have a lot more fun with a lot more people if you can be concise." And we have Graham. Please unmute and ask away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just more of an observation, really, on what you said about scripts. One of the coaches who ran a session when I was doing my training said, don't get hung up too much on the words of the script, treating it as a body of work. He said, think of it more like a skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you've got your basic idea of what you want to do in the induction. You know where it's going to go, like a skeleton is. It's up to you as the hypnotist to then put some flesh over it, because not every client is going to be the same. And with the practice sessions, you eventually learn how to tailor each script for each individual person. So obviously, if you're working with a male client, you wouldn't use obviously like female pronouns and things like that. Otherwise it's going to ruin the effect.
That's a very good metaphor. Yeah, it's a skeleton. It's a format. It's a framework. You put the flesh on it by what you do. So that's a very good analogy. Anything else? Oh, I did want to ask. Our last session, we talked about the emotional switch, which is an incredibly useful conversational pattern. I know we talked with Graham; he wasn't able to use it. Has anyone else had tried it or had an experience with it? Okay, I get it. If this is your first exposure to the emotional switch, listen to that on YouTube. It's right there in the playlist, and it's amazingly fun. Tried it on yourself. Oh, excellent. Dwayne says he tried it on himself. That's perfect. It does work. You can do this on yourself as well. All right. Okay. Last questions, comments. There's an assumption here I want to sort of meet, because of the topic, this particular topic. This assumes that everyone here has some skill in hypnosis. Man, I just want you to get as much as you can. If you're a beginner, if you're experienced here, your presence is deeply valued and cherished, and your contribution is as well. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions, email me at my email address. So you can find that on the or mindcontrolismybusiness@gmail.com, and we will go from there. And because you're here, you are not somewhere else. So you made a sacrifice to get here. Thank you so much for making that sacrifice. I deeply appreciate it. Joe?
David, thank you so much. You can cut the recording here, but for everyone here, this is something I'm playing with, and I don't know if this should be a topic or if anyone has any interest. But I was feeling anxious, so I did a bastardized version of Change Personal History. I'll lower it here, and I was just laying in bed, and I anchored uh, a really positive state. And then, over here, and of course I shifted state, noticed some things in the room, anchored the thing that was really pissing me off, noticed three things in the room, and then fired both anchors and let that one absorb. So that was my little self meditation thing because I was too lazy to get up
An anchor
and
collapse.
take
That was good.
melatonin. So
Yeah.
I just figured I'll do this and get this thought out of my head. These are things that we can do every day. If anyone watching wants to see more of it, please do let us know what interests you. We're very thankful that you're here every week. You're taking your time. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
If
I'll
if I
leave it
may,
at
if I
that.
may, Joe,
Yes.
as you were saying about doing that little bit of self meditation, one of the things that the discipline I work under is always saying about teaching your clients self hypnosis so they can become their own clients. I thought perhaps maybe that might be a topic for a future discussion, perhaps about the
Okay.
pros and cons of doing it and ways of going about it.
I will make that the next one. That's perfect.
Thank you very much, Graham. I
Yeah.
appreciate that very much. Thank you.
All
You're
right,
welcome.
guys.
Thanks, Ben.
Uh,
Thank you, David,
uh,
for
let
running
me
the
just
session. Oh,
let's return. Alex had, I think I just lost it there. Serotonin defeats melatonin. Alex, you are completely right. You always add something insightful. Um, anyway, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for participating. See you next week.
yeah.
Same bad
Thank you,
time.
Joe and David,
All
for
right.
arranging it. It's always appreciated greatly.
All right. Next week.
Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye, everyone.